What's good, wrestling warriors? Welcome back to Wrestling Juice, your ultimate source for the most explosive stories in the wrestling world. I'm your host, and today we're diving headfirst into a moment so monumental, it has the entire WWE Universe in an absolute frenzy. Get ready, because this is next level. Roman Reigns is back in WWE, and he's not alone. He's brought Zilla Fatu and a mysterious Hooded Shield member with him. Why the sudden return? Roman Reigns is seeking revenge on Seth Rollins' faction, and the stage is set for the next SmackDown. That's right, the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, is storming back to WWE, and he's got backup. Alongside him are Zilla Fatu, the powerful son of the late, great Umaga, radiating that iconic Shield energy. Their target is clear, Seth Rollins and his smug new faction. This isn't just a comeback, it's a revenge mission, and it all goes down on the next SmackDown. The questions are swirling: who's under that hood? Why is Reigns targeting Rollins now, of all times? And what kind of chaos is about to erupt? We're breaking down every single detail today, every punch, every twist, every jaw-dropping moment. If you're ready to step into this madness with us, hit that subscribe button, smash the bell icon, and let's roll. This is Wrestling Juice, and we're taking you ringside for one of the biggest returns in WWE history. The Shield is back, baby, and they're bringing the house down. Picture this: it's Friday night, June 13th, 2025, live from the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. The crowd is absolutely buzzing, 17,000 strong, and Seth Rollins is feeling untouchable. Little does he know, in a matter of minutes, Reigns, Zilla, and this mystery member are about to completely flip the script. Stay with us as we dissect every second of this seismic return. Let's get it. The scene is set. SmackDown is underway, and Seth Rollins is in the ring, oozing arrogance. That signature smirk is plastered across his face as he paces with a mic, flanked by his crew, let's call them the new authority. Paul Heyman is right there, stroking his ego, while Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed stand like twin towers of destruction. Rollins is mid-promo, soaking in the booze. I'm the king of this company now. Roman Reigns? He's a ghost. The bloodline? Dust. Nobody's left to stop us. The crowd is split, half jeering, half eating it up, but an electric tension is brewing. Then, bam. The lights cut out. Total darkness. The arena falls silent for a heartbeat, and you can feel the anticipation ripple through the stands. Suddenly, that sound hits: Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield. The roof of the Kia Forum practically blows off. Fans are screaming, jumping, losing their minds as the camera pans to the entrance ramp. Roman Reigns steps out, sporting his old Shield gear, black vest, tactical pants, that ice-cold glare. But he's not alone. To his left, Zilla Fatu, a 6 feet 4 inches beast radiating Umaga's intensity. To his right, a hooded figure, face obscured, moving with a predator's grace. The trio locks eyes with the ring and begins their ominous march. Inside the ring, Rollins freezes, that smirk completely wiped from his face. He stumbles over his words. Wait, what? What's this? Heyman's jaw drops, his hands trembling as he mutters, no, no, no. Breaker and Reed step forward, ready for a brawl, but the crowd's roar is already deafening, 17,000 voices chanting, Roman! Roman! The trio hits the ring like a freight train. Reigns slides in, Zilla leaps over the ropes, and the hooded figure follows, all in perfect sync. Rollins tries to bail, shouting, Roman, hold on. We can, too late. Reigns explodes forward with a spear, folding Rollins in half. The impact is so loud, it's like a gunshot, and the crowd erupts. Breaker charges Zilla, but the big man catches him with a Samoan drop, planting him hard. Reed swings at the hooded figure, who ducks, lands a spinning heel kick, and drops him with a snap suplex. It's pure, unadulterated chaos. Heyman is cornered, pleading, "Roman, I made you the tribal chief. You need me." Reigns isn't buying it. He grabs Heyman by the collar, drags him to the center, and signals Zilla and the hooded figure. The crowd knows exactly what's coming, erupting into chants of triple powerbomb. Triple powerbomb. The trio lifts Heyman high and slams him through the mat with a thunderous shield powerbomb. He's out cold, a crumpled mess. As the fans go wild, Reigns snatches the mic, standing over Rollins' limp body. His voice cuts through the noise. "You thought you could bury me, Seth? You thought you could take my empire? I'm back, and I brought the shield with me. Your faction's done. That briefcase? You'll never cash it in. I'll make sure of it." He drops the mic, and the trio raises their fists, Reigns in the middle, Zilla and the hooded figure on either side, mirroring that classic shield salute. The message is crystal clear: they're here to dominate, and Rollins' days are numbered. This wasn't just a return, it was a massacre. Reigns didn't just show up, he rewrote the game. Social media is already on fire, with posts screaming, "The Shield's back, and Rollins is screwed." But why now? Why Rollins? To understand the depth of this return, we have to go back to the roots of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. It all began in 2012 when the Shield debuted at Survivor Series. Reigns, Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, were three hungry rookies on a mission to fix WWE. They were unstoppable, crashing main events, taking out legends like The Rock and John Cena, and quickly snagging the tag team titles. For 2 years, the Shield was the most dominant force in wrestling, a brotherhood forged in loyalty and chaos. Then came June 2, 2014, one of the darkest days in WWE history. Seth Rollins betrayed his brothers, smashing a steel chair across Reigns' back and shattering the Shield forever. He joined Triple H's authority, leaving Reigns and Ambrose in the dust. That betrayal wasn't just a storyline, it was deeply personal. Rollins famously cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 31, stealing the WWE Championship from Reigns in what's still known as the heist of the century. Reigns never forgot it. Fast forward to 2021. Reigns reinvented himself as the tribal chief, a ruthless heel with Paul Heyman whispering in his ear. He dominated WWE, holding the undisputed WWE Universal Championship for over 1,300 days. He crushed everyone: Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, even his own cousin, The Rock. But at WrestleMania 41 in 2025, the cracks finally showed. In a triple threat match with Rollins and CM Punk, Heyman shockingly betrayed Reigns, helping Rollins pin him to win the title. Reigns lost everything: his belt, his Wiseman, his iron grip on WWE. He disappeared, leaving fans wondering if the tribal chief era was truly over. While Reigns was gone, Rollins built the new authority with Heyman, Breakker, and Reed. They ruled SmackDown, with Rollins clutching the Money in the Bank briefcase he won in June 2025. He mocked Reigns relentlessly, declaring, "The tribal chief's a myth now." But deep down, he knew Reigns wasn't one to stay down. That history, that chair shot from 2014, has been simmering for over a decade. Now, Reigns is back, not as the Bloodline's leader, but as the Shield's commander, ready to burn Rollins' world to the ground. The wild card: who is the hooded figure? Zilla Fatu fits into this perfectly. As Umaga's son and part of the Anoa'i dynasty, he's family, Reigns' cousin by blood. Reports suggest Zilla has been training for a WWE debut, and aligning with Reigns is a no-brainer. But the real wild card, the true enigma, is that hooded figure. Who are they? Why are they here? This revenge isn't just about the past, it's about reclaiming the future. Could it be someone from the Anoa'i family like Jacob Fatu? Or perhaps a total shocker, like a New Japan star such as Will Ospreay? WWE has been hinting at crossovers, and a surprise like that would genuinely shake things up. Whoever it is, they are an undeniable game-changer. The way they moved on SmackDown, fluid, ruthless, it was pure Shield. The mystery has us all hooked, and we're desperate to find out more. Reigns didn't just attack Rollins, he planted a seed of fear. That ominous promise to ruin every Money in the Bank cash-in? It's genius. Rollins is now trapped, paranoid, knowing Reigns could strike at any moment. Here's how the saga could unfold. SummerSlam 2025, Rollins tries to cash in on a battered champion, perhaps Cody Rhodes, only for Reigns to ambush him, setting up a brutal grudge match. Survivor Series, the new Shield faces the New Authority in a chaotic War Games match. WrestleMania 42, Reigns relentlessly stalks Rollins for months, costing him the briefcase, leading to a final, epic showdown. The stakes are sky high, and the WWE Universe is absolutely eating it up. This is storytelling at its peak, unpredictable, intense, and utterly compelling. What's next? Wrestling Warriors, what an incredible night. Roman Reigns' return with Zilla Fatu and that mysterious Shield member to dismantle Seth Rollins' faction is truly unreal. The revenge, the mystery, this is pure WWE gold. What's next for this revamped Shield? A full-blown war with Rollins? The dawn of a new Shield dynasty? Stick with Wrestling Juice for every single update. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and drop your guesses below. Who do you think is under that hood? We're just getting started. What if everything you thought you knew about WWE power dynamics, everything about who's on top, who's in control, who runs this business, was suddenly ripped to shreds in one night? No leaks. No warning. No slow burn storyline. Just darkness. Silence. And then? Sierra. Hotel. India. Echo. Lima. Delta. Shield. On Friday, June 13, 2025, inside the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, 17,000 voices transformed into a single roar heard around the world. In the middle of Seth Rollins' smug speech about being WWE's new king, Roman Reigns returned. But this wasn't the same Roman. This wasn't the smug, slow-speaking tribal chief flanked by cousins and championship belts. This was the Roman Reigns of old, dressed in black, fists clenched, eyes locked. And he didn't come alone. To his left, Zilla Fatu, a 6 feet 4 inches force of nature with the blood of Umaga and the fire of a dynasty ready to ignite. To his right, a hooded figure, face hidden, walking with the silent menace of a ghost from wrestling's most feared past. This wasn't nostalgia. This wasn't fan service. This was a declaration of war. Welcome back, Wrestling Warriors. This is Wrestling Juice, and today, we're not just covering a return, we're breaking down an earthquake in WWE's foundation. Roman Reigns didn't come back to reunite a family. He came back to rebuild an army. In this video, we're peeling back every layer of what went down on SmackDown, from the arena electricity to the symbolism behind that black Shield gear, to the unspoken message etched into Seth Rollins' shocked face as Reigns stood above him. We're going to ask the big questions: why now? Why Zilla Fatu? Who is the hooded figure? And most of all, what is Roman Reigns really after? Because this isn't about revenge, it's about erasure. It's about Roman Reigns rewriting the narrative Seth Rollins has been selling since WrestleMania 41. It started like any typical SmackDown. Rollins strutted into the ring, backed by his new authority, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, dripping in arrogance. The crowd? Half booing, half eating it up. Rollins thrived in it. He called Roman Reigns a ghost. Called the bloodline a crumbled fairy tale. And the thing about WWE fans is, they've been burned before. Surprise returns that don't deliver. Teasers that fizzle. Broken promises. So when the lights cut off and a cold silence swept the arena, there was hesitation. But then that single word detonated like a bomb: Shield. It wasn't nostalgia, it was threat. The screen went black. The entrance ramp lit up. Roman Reigns walked out of the fog like a man resurrected by rage. There were no championship belts on his shoulders. There was no smirk, no slow walk, no smothering self-importance. just purpose. To his left, Zilla Fatu, stone-faced, walking like a man who's been waiting his whole life for this one moment. His debut wasn't hyped in weeks of promos. It was earned, on sight. To Roman's right, the hooded figure. We'll get to them later. But make no mistake, the way they moved, the way they struck, it was Shield DNA. And then, the march. That iconic synchronized walk down the ramp that froze the blood of opponents from 2012 to 2014. Except this time, it wasn't about justice. It was about retribution. Inside the ring, Rollins' eyes widened. His mouth moved, but no words came out. Paul Heyman? He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Breaker and Reed stepped forward like they were ready to throw hands, but the crowd already knew, this wasn't a fight. This was an execution. This return isn't just a storyline. It's a reset. It's WWE saying, the Bloodline era may be over, but Roman Reigns is not. It's proof that the company isn't done letting him define the future, just rebranding his legacy with new tools, new allies, and a darker mission. We're now standing at the beginning of a new civil war in WWE. Not a family feud. Not a championship chase. But an ideological war between two former brothers, Rollins and Reigns, who started as soldiers of justice and became kings of chaos. The WWE Universe isn't just watching history unfold. We're standing in the middle of it. Here's what we're unpacking across this deep dive: the fall of Roman Reigns. How did the tribal chief lose everything? The rise of the new authority. What does Seth Rollins actually represent now? A blow-by-blow breakdown of that chaotic SmackDown ambush. The full profile on Zilla Fatu, who he is, why he matters, and what he brings to WWE. The biggest mystery. Who is under the hood, and what are the best theories? The full history of Reigns versus Rollins, 10 years of tension, betrayal, and unfinished business. Future predictions: SummerSlam, Survivor Series, WrestleMania 42. This war is just getting started, and we're going to connect every dot. This isn't about cheering your favorite anymore. This is about choosing a side. Because Roman Reigns is no longer playing politics. Seth Rollins is no longer cracking jokes. And Paul Heyman? He just got put through a table by the man he once called his tribal chief. So buckle up, wrestling warriors. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment right now. Who do you think is under the hood? Because by the time this saga ends, everything you know about WWE could be turned inside out. This is Wrestling Juice. And this is War. For 1,316 days, Roman Reigns sat on the throne of WWE like a king born for war. He wasn't just a champion. He was the final boss. The last level. The mountain no one could climb. Week after week, pay-per-view after pay-per-view, he walked into the arena with gold on his shoulder and fire in his eyes. Opponents crumbled. Legends fell. And when the dust cleared, Reigns always stood tall, flanked by the Usos, Solo Sikoa, and his advisor-turned-architect, Paul Heyman. But all empires fall. And Reigns didn't just lose a title. He lost everything. His family. His advisor. His aura of invincibility. And on April 6, 2025, inside Lincoln Financial Field at WrestleMania 41, Roman Reigns watched his legacy unravel in real time. The match was billed as the ultimate test: Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. 3 titans. 3 histories. 3 egos colliding on the grandest stage. But no one, not even Reigns, was ready for the betrayal that was waiting in the wings. It started strong. Reigns dominating early, throwing Rollins into barricades, choking Punk with the ring rope, reminding everyone why he had ruled for nearly 4 years. He looked like a man possessed. A man reclaiming his legacy. Every blow he landed screamed, "This is still my company." But the tide shifted. Rollins recovered, fought back with his signature agility. Punk, playing the wild card, attacked from all angles, refusing to stay down. The three brawled like brothers at war. Each strike dipped in 10 years of resentment, jealousy, and unfinished business. Then it happened. Paul Heyman climbed onto the apron. His face was panicked, his voice cracking as he screamed at the referee. For a moment, Reigns thought Heyman was trying to save him, just like always. But Heyman wasn't distracting the ref to protect his tribal chief. He was setting him up. CM Punk hit his GTS on Rollins. Reigns went to spear Punk and finish it, but Heyman reached in and grabbed his ankle. Just long enough to make him stumble. Reigns turned around, confused. Heyman smiled. That's when Rollins struck. Curb stomp. Cover. 1, 2, 3. The stadium erupted. Fireworks exploded. But Roman Reigns didn't move. He lay on the mat, eyes wide, his chest heaving, but not from the pain. From the realization. He'd been betrayed. Again. The tribal chief era ended not with a bang, but with a knife in the back. Backstage, cameras caught the chaos. Reigns storming through the halls. Tossing chairs. Screaming at officials. Demanding answers. Heyman was nowhere to be found. Rollins had disappeared into the locker room with his new briefcase, his new crown, and his new faction, the New Authority. WrestleMania 41 wasn't just the night Reigns lost the championship. It was the night he lost everything that made him Roman Reigns. After that, he vanished. No Raw appearance. No SmackDown promo. No social media cryptic tweets. Nothing. The man who once walked into every arena like a god now walked into silence. And the world took notice. Pundits speculated whether Reigns was injured. Whether he'd taken a sabbatical. Some even floated retirement rumors. Sports media ran wild with theories. Fans flooded Reddit threads and Twitter timelines with their own versions of the truth. He's done. He'll come back at SummerSlam. He's being repackaged. He's going to Hollywood. He's broken. And in a way, they were right. Roman Reigns wasn't just physically absent. He was psychologically shattered. He hadn't just lost a title. He had been outmaneuvered, humiliated, and abandoned by the one man who had sworn loyalty above all else. For over 3 years, Paul Heyman whispered in Reigns' ear, calling him the tribal chief, the head of the table. He managed every match, orchestrated every plan, shielded him from collapse. But that alliance had always been rooted in control, not loyalty. And the moment Reigns faltered, Heyman found a new golden goose in Rollins. But Reigns wasn't the only one watching. The bloodline crumbled in the months prior. The Usos went their separate ways. Solo Sikoa vanished into NXT's shadow. What had once been the most dominant faction in modern wrestling history was now nothing more than a cautionary tale. And through it all, Reigns stayed gone. Until he didn't. What no one realized was that during his absence, Roman Reigns wasn't licking his wounds. He was recruiting. Training. Plotting. Stripping away the excess. Shedding the robes. Throwing away the throne. He wasn't coming back as a king. He was coming back as a soldier. The change was deeper than just gear. The man who returned wasn't interested in bloodline heritage, ceremonial titles, or tribal acknowledgement. He didn't want worship. He wanted destruction. When the lights went out on June 13th and the Shield siren hit, it wasn't a callback. It was a resurrection. Reigns didn't just bring a new ally in Zilla Fatu. He brought back the spirit of what made him dangerous in the first place. The tactical, focused, cold-eyed warrior who walked into WWE 10 years ago with a mission. That man had been buried under layers of ego and storyline royalty. But that man was back. And he was angry. Not just at Heyman. Not just at Rollins. But at the machine that let it all happen. The betrayal at WrestleMania wasn't just a plot twist. It was a purification. A forced reset. One that burned away the old Reigns and revealed the original beneath the ashes. This isn't about a title anymore. This isn't about being tribal chief. This is about war. And Roman Reigns isn't asking for permission. He's coming to burn everything that Rollins built down to the ground. The moment Roman Reigns disappeared from WWE, Seth Rollins didn't just step into the spotlight, he kicked the door off its hinges and dragged the light down with him. For years, Rollins had lived under the towering shadow of Roman Reigns. He was the architect of the Shield, the man with the brains and ambition, but Reigns was always the muscle, the poster boy, the champion. Even when Rollins turned on him in 2014, even when he won titles and headlined shows, Roman was always positioned above him. Until WrestleMania 41. That was the turning point. Not just because Rollins won the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, but because he did it by executing the perfect betrayal. With Paul Heyman by his side and Roman Reigns distracted by the chaos of a triple threat, Rollins cashed in pain, history, and timing to finally flip the narrative. He wasn't just a man who beat Roman. He was the man who ended him. And once the throne was empty, Rollins didn't hesitate. He rebuilt the Authority, not with suits and boardroom promos, but with steel and savagery. This was a new breed. No Stephanie. No TripleH. No corporate games. Just power, pain, and a mandate: run WWE by force, or destroy anyone who tries to stop you. Enter the new Authority. Paul Heyman, the manipulator reborn. A man who once called Roman Reigns the greatest champion in WWE history, now calling Seth Rollins the future of the business. In reality, Heyman was never loyal to the person, he was loyal to momentum. And Seth Rollins had all of it. Braun Breaker, the powerhouse. Young, vicious, and hungry. Son of Rick Steiner. Nephew of Scott. Built like a tank and wrestles like one. If Roman once had Solo Sikoa as his silent enforcer, Rollins now had a version with even more speed, more explosiveness, and a chip on his shoulder the size of WrestleMania itself. Bronson Reed, the wrecking ball. A pure brawler. No finesse. No mercy. A human avalanche. Where Breaker was the spear, Reed was the wall. Together, they formed the left and right hand of Rollins' new reign. Together, this trio didn't just dominate SmackDown. They changed its tone. Every week became more violent. More hostile. Instead of tribal ceremonies and contract signings, the show opened with ambushes, backstage fights, and smug declarations of ownership. Rollins, now holding the Money in the Bank briefcase as well as a symbolic throne, walked with the arrogance of a man who finally escaped his brother's shadow. And he wanted everyone to know it. He mocked Roman every week. He called the bloodline a family of frauds. He said the only tribal chief that mattered now was the one holding the briefcase. He nicknamed Paul Heyman the Wiseman 2.0, a dig at Heyman's past servitude to Reigns. He even repurposed the Shield's infamous triple fist pose, just with Breaker and Reed at his side, standing over fallen opponents. And fans, love him or hate him, couldn't look away. The new Authority was built for television. Rollins brought the charisma, the unpredictability, the venom-laced promos. Breaker and Reed brought chaos. Heyman brought the narrative glue. They weren't trying to honor wrestling history. They were trying to rewrite it. They claimed they weren't a faction, they were an institution. That anyone not aligned with them would get crushed. Literally. Rollins said it himself on a May episode of SmackDown: "You want to work for WWE? Then you better understand something. You either fall in line, or you fall through a table." This was no longer the era of acknowledgement. This was the age of enforcement. Behind the scenes, the locker room was split. Some stars aligned with the new Authority out of fear. Others out of ambition. And some, like Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, stood defiantly opposed, but lacked the numbers or momentum to mount a real resistance. That vacuum of hope, that sense of inevitability, was the key to Rollins' strategy. He wanted the audience to believe Roman wasn't coming back. That the tribal chief had taken his ball and gone home. That the dream of a bloodline resurgence was just that, a dream. Every passing week without Reigns was another layer of psychological warfare. Every sarcastic shout of "acknowledge me" into the camera. Every curb stomp delivered with that trademark grin. Every promo dripping with "I told you so." By June, Seth Rollins wasn't just a top heel. He was becoming a legacy destroyer. The man who closed the book on Reigns. The man who silenced the Anoa'i dynasty. The man who ruled with money in one hand and vengeance in the other. And with Heyman pulling strings and Breakker and Reed crushing resistance, he felt untouchable. Until the lights went out. Until the siren hit. Until Roman Reigns walked out of that fog, flanked by a new soldier and a silent shadow. Rollins thought he had buried the past. But the past just kicked down the door, and it brought back up. It was supposed to be another night of dominance for Seth Rollins and the new authority. The June 13th edition of SmackDown, live from the sold-out Kia Forum in Los Angeles, was marketed like a coronation. With Reigns still off the grid and no one left to challenge his reign of terror, Rollins was poised to stake his final claim as the face of WWE. The opening graphic wasn't just promoting a match, it was pushing a message: Seth Rollins owns this company now. The stage was massive. Fans packed in, buzzing, unsure of what surprises, if any, were in store. The crowd leaned in, waiting to see who Rollins would dismantle next. There was an uneasy feeling in the air. Not because fans expected chaos, but because chaos had become the norm under the new authority. People came to see Seth Rollins laugh in the face of legacy, to see Braun Breaker crush another veteran, to watch Bronson Reed drag another rookie into the floor. Rollins hit the ring like a man who knew no one could touch him. He strutted with that infectious energy, briefcase in hand, mic raised high, that grin stretching from ear to ear. Breakker and Reed flanked him like walls of muscle, stoic and ready. Paul Heyman followed last, stepping through the ropes with the cautious arrogance of a man who bet on the right horse, again. The promo began like so many others in recent weeks. "I told you," Rollins said, pacing, his voice like syrup over a sharp edge. "I told you Roman Reigns was a myth. A story you tell your kids at night about a time when one man held the whole company hostage with his cousins and his counselor." The crowd reacted like they always did, boos and cheers mixed in a cocktail of love and hate. Rollins soaked it in. But now? That era is over. There's no bloodline. No tribal chief. Just me, the briefcase, and my kingdom. He nodded toward Breakker and Reed. And these towers behind me? They make sure nobody tries to sneak in the back door. The camera zoomed in on Heyman's face. He smiled, but something in his eyes looked uncertain, twitchy. Then it happened. The lights cut off. Total blackout. At first, the crowd roared. Then the roar died down to a hush. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Just pure, heavy silence. That kind of silence that makes your skin feel tight, your heart pound in your neck. The Kia Forum wasn't breathing. The production team didn't play a glitchy cue. There were no flashing titantrons or error messages. Just blackness. Then, through the speakers, that voice thundered out, "Sierra. Hotel. India. Echo. Lima. Delta. Shield." The crowd didn't cheer. They screamed. It wasn't polite applause or nostalgic excitement. It was primal. People jumped from their seats. Phones flew into the air. A wave of noise hit the arena like a thunderclap. The camera cut to the ring, where Seth Rollins stood frozen in place. The mic in his hand dropped to the mat. He mouthed something that wasn't audible, but the look on his face told the entire story. "No. It can't be." The Titantron flashed with a storm of static and smoke. Then, three silhouettes emerged from the fog at the top of the ramp. In the center, unmistakable even in shadow, was Roman Reigns. He was wearing the black tactical vest. The boots. The gloves. No crown. No lei. No tribal chief regalia. Just war gear. To his left, Zilla Fatu. Towering, arms clenched, a snarl etched into his face like stone. His presence alone sent ripples through the crowd. No one expected his debut to come this way. But the moment they saw him, it was clear, this wasn't a guest appearance. This was a declaration. To Reigns' right, the hooded figure. Face covered. No logos. No tells. But their posture, the way they moved, it screamed Shield. Calculated, tight, with that barely restrained violence simmering just beneath the surface. The camera cut to Heyman. He wasn't smiling now. He looked like he'd seen the devil. In the ring, Rollins tried to shake it off. He laughed nervously. Picked up the mic. Okay, Roman. Real cute. You finally crawl out of your cave. What, you brought a cosplay squad with you? Reigns didn't speak. He started walking. Zilla followed. Then the hooded figure. The three of them marched in formation. Deliberate. Measured. Each step felt like a countdown. Fans near the barricades lost their minds, banging signs, reaching out to touch what felt like the rebirth of something legendary. Rollins started backing up in the ring. Breakker and Reed stepped forward, ready. But they didn't understand what was coming. Reigns slid under the ropes first. Zilla hopped onto the apron and stepped in. The hooded figure followed, calm, silent. Rollins put his hands up. Wait. We can talk about this. Roman, you don't have to, too late. Reigns exploded forward and leveled Rollins with a spear that sent shockwaves through the mat. The sound wasn't just loud. It was final. Like a door slamming shut on an entire era. Breakker charged at Zilla, swinging a clothesline. Zilla ducked, lifted him effortlessly, and dropped him with a Samoan drop that left Breakker writhing. Bronson Reed grabbed the hooded figure and tried to toss them over the top rope, but they countered. Ducking under, spinning around, and hitting a snap suplex followed by a vicious heel kick. Reed went down, stunned. Heyman tried to slink out of the ring, but Reigns spotted him. Grabbed him by the collar. Dragged him to the center. The crowd started chanting before it even happened. Triple powerbomb. Triple powerbomb. And they got it. Reigns nodded. Zilla grabbed Heyman's left side. The hooded figure took the right. They lifted him high above their heads. And drove him through the mat with the classic Shield slam. Heyman was out cold. Reigns stood over him. Breathing hard. Then he picked up the mic. You thought you could steal my legacy, Seth? You thought you could cash in on everything I built? He looked down at Rollins, clutching his ribs on the mat. I'm not here to reclaim the past. I'm here to erase you from the future. He dropped the mic. Zilla and the hooded figure flanked him. The three of them raised their fists, touching them together in the center of the ring. That image, Roman in the middle, eyes locked on the camera, fists clenched, standing over his fallen enemies, wasn't just a return. It was a warning. And it sent shockwaves through the entire WWE Universe. When Roman Reigns walked out onto that SmackDown stage on June 13th with a man standing to his left who most fans had never seen on WWE television, the reactions ranged from stunned silence to frantic Google searches. Who was this monster of a man? Why did Roman trust him? And how did someone with zero televised matches in WWE look so completely at home standing beside one of the most dominant champions in company history? His name is Zilla Fatu. And if the WWE Universe didn't know him then, they know him now. Zilla Fatu isn't just any rookie. He's a direct descendant of one of wrestling's most feared families. The son of Edward Fatu, better known to wrestling fans as Umaga, Zilla represents a fusion of heritage and hunger, legacy, and raw potential. He's 6 feet 4 inches, 280 pounds of violent energy, trained in the Inoue style of brutality with a modern edge. And unlike many second-generation stars who enter the business with glitz and branding, Zilla has walked in with fists up and mouth shut. Let's rewind. Zilla wasn't a WWE creation. He didn't come through the performance center in a heavily publicized class. He didn't get teased with coming soon vignettes. His entrance into the company was silent. Quiet. Deliberate. Because that's exactly how Roman Reigns wanted it. Zilla trained at Reality of Wrestling, the Texas-based promotion run by Hall of Famer Booker T. It's known for its grit, its focus on fundamentals, and its refusal to give out free passes. Zilla spent his early months away from the spotlight, refining his striking, conditioning, ring awareness, and most importantly, his ability to command presence. And when footage began leaking from live events, clips of Zilla landing Samoan drops with terrifying precision or staring down crowds without blinking, the internet started buzzing. But no one thought WWE would bring him straight to the main roster. Then again, this wasn't a normal debut. This was a mission. Roman Reigns didn't just need a backup. He needed a soldier. Someone who could destroy, intimidate, and control the ring in ways the Usos once did for the bloodline. But he also needed someone different, someone younger, hungrier, and unshackled by expectations. Zilla fit that mold perfectly. The first thing you notice about him is his presence. He doesn't have to say a word to be terrifying. His face is stoic, but not lifeless. His movements are measured, with the kind of self-discipline that only comes from training under high-pressure conditions. When he entered the SmackDown ring that night, he didn't glance at the crowd. He didn't acknowledge the noise. He locked eyes with Braun Breaker like he'd been preparing for this moment for years. And then dropped him like a sack of concrete with a Samoan drop that would have made Umaga proud. But what makes Zilla truly dangerous isn't his size or lineage. It's his timing. Roman Reigns knew exactly when to bring him in. Not when the WWE Universe was expecting a new bloodline recruit. Not during WrestleMania season when everyone's radar is up. But right in the moment when the WWE audience believed Roman was finished, when Rollins had declared himself the unopposed ruler of SmackDown. Zilla's appearance wasn't about hype. It was about fear. He represents a new chapter in the Inoue family story, one that skips past the drama of internal family tension and returns to the foundation: dominance, control, destruction. And yet, Zilla doesn't carry himself like a prince. He doesn't ride on Umaga's name. He said in interviews before that his father's legacy isn't a crutch, it's a challenge. Because living up to Umaga's level of intensity, credibility, and danger is no small task. But Zilla isn't trying to be his father. He's trying to be something new. Something worse. The way WWE positioned him tells you everything. He wasn't sent in to clean up scraps. He wasn't the guy outside the ring waiting to tag in. He was front line, shoulder to shoulder with Roman Reigns. No words. No entrance music. Just violence. A statement, not a spectacle. Fans online immediately began making comparisons. Some said he was the new Solo Sikoa. Others called him a throwback to early Shield-era Reigns. But those comparisons miss the point. Zilla isn't a replacement. He's a new category. He's the type of performer you build a future around, not as a solo attraction, but as part of a unit that can destroy entire factions. Already, fans are calling him the hammer of this new Shield, Roman's enforcer, the one who doesn't speak because the pain he delivers does all the talking. But that silence? It's calculated. Because silence is power. Silence leaves room for mystery. And mystery creates fear. Zilla Fatu debuted without a catchphrase, without a promo, without a build-up. And still, he dominated the narrative. Every wrestling podcast, every YouTube reaction video, every social post that night had the same message: who the hell is Zilla Fatu, and why is he terrifying? He is terrifying because he doesn't care about being liked. He doesn't care about flashy spots or cool moves. He only cares about one thing: executing whatever Reigns orders him to do. And when the day comes that Zilla finally speaks, if he ever does, it will matter. Because by then, he'll already have wrecked half the roster. Zilla Fatu is the future. But more importantly, he's the weapon Roman Reigns has chosen to reclaim the present. The WWE Universe should get used to seeing him. He's not going away. If Zilla Fatu's presence shocked the WWE Universe, the third figure walking beside Roman Reigns on that fateful night sent it into absolute overdrive. Unlike Zilla, this person came cloaked in complete mystery. Literally. Hood up, face hidden, no logos, no signs, no giveaways. Just a silhouette moving with precision and purpose. Whoever they were, they didn't act like a backup dancer. They moved like they belonged. And from the second they stepped into the ring, it was clear. They were trained, dangerous, and born for this. Now, WWE fans are used to teases and red herrings. We've seen mystery attackers. We've seen who's under the mask stories play out before. But this one felt different. Because this wasn't a side plot. This was part of the main invasion. Roman Reigns doesn't share the ring with anyone lightly. Especially not in moments that define his return. Especially not in a reformed Shield lineup. So, the questions exploded across the internet instantly. Who is the hooded figure? Why now? And what do they mean to Reigns' mission? Let's start with what we know. The figure's in-ring performance was no fluke. When Bronson Reed charged at them during the SmackDown ambush, the hooded wrestler dodged cleanly, countered with a spinning heel kick, then executed a textbook snap suplex. No hesitation. No wasted motion. This wasn't some celebrity guest spot or clumsy NXT call-up thrown into the fire. This was someone trained. Seasoned. And more than that. This was someone who understood the Shield's tempo. Because everything about the way they moved felt familiar. Not in the sense that they copied Reigns or Dean Ambrose or Rollins, but in the rhythm. The control. The calculation. The Shield was never about flashy wrestling. It was about purpose. Cut off the ring. Control the pace. Take the body apart. Win with discipline. That's what this person brought into the ring without even revealing their identity. Now let's talk theories. The most obvious one, Jacob Fatu. He's Roman's blood. He's violent. He's feared. And for years, he's been one of the most dominant men outside of WWE. His run in MLW turned heads. He moved like a heavyweight but struck like a cruiserweight. Fans have been begging to see him enter WWE for years, and many assumed if he ever did, it would be as a bloodline enforcer. But what if Reigns brought him in for something deeper? What if Jacob was always meant to be the silent killer in a reborn Shield? There are two reasons this theory makes sense. 1, it keeps the story within the family, something WWE has leaned heavily into for the last 5 years. 2, it introduces someone with legitimate ring credibility without needing to give them a microphone. If Jacob is the hooded figure, WWE is sitting on a goldmine of matches and shock value. But there's a counterargument. Jacob Fatu is too well known. His look is distinct. His size, tattoos, body language, easy to identify. If this was him, fans would have spotted it already. And WWE may not want to waste that reveal behind a mask when they could build him as his own presence. Which brings us to theory 2, this is someone brand new. An outsider. A ghost WWE is about to unleash. One of the loudest theories gaining traction online points to someone from outside the company altogether. A crossover signing. Maybe from New Japan. Maybe from the Indies. One name that keeps getting thrown around, Will Ospreay. Now on paper, that feels wild. Ospreay is a loudmouth. Flashy. A world-traveled performer known for his aerial offense, not his silence. But that's what makes the theory exciting. Because what if this is WWE's way of reintroducing someone the audience thinks they already understand? What if the hooded figure is Ospreay under total control, shaved down, stripped of ego, reshaped by Reigns into something colder, more dangerous? Imagine the pop when the hood is pulled back and it's one of the most explosive performers in the world, standing shoulder to shoulder with Roman Reigns. The statement writes itself. But there's a third theory, and this one might be the most compelling of all. What if the hooded figure isn't meant to be revealed? At least, not yet. What if Roman Reigns is using the mystery itself as a weapon? Think about it. The WWE Universe is obsessed with answers. They need to know who's under the mask. But Roman doesn't care about what the fans want. That's part of his new philosophy. He's not here to perform. He's here to dominate. And nothing builds fear more than uncertainty. Every time that hooded figure steps into the ring, the guessing game restarts. Every movement becomes a clue. Every hold, every counter, every look becomes something to analyze. It creates conversation, hype, chaos. And in war, confusion is power. This character, whoever they are, represents Roman's most calculated move yet. Zilla Fatu is the brawn. Roman is the general. But the hooded figure? That's the psychological weapon. The unknown that makes everyone nervous. Fans are even theorizing that WWE might use the hooded figure as a narrative twist down the line. Maybe it's someone Reigns is training, only to be betrayed again. Maybe it's someone Reigns thinks he controls, until they reveal their true loyalty lies with someone else. Or maybe, it's the most personal twist of all. Some are whispering the unthinkable. Could it be Jon Moxley? Far-fetched? Absolutely. He's under contract with AEW. He's built a brand as an outlaw, not a follower. But imagine the world where that music hits, and the figure rips the hood off, and it's Moxley. The reaction would break the internet. It would collapse arenas. It would complete the circle of Shield history in a way no one saw coming. And that's the point of this angle. We're not supposed to know. The mystery is the hook. And WWE is playing it masterfully. They're teasing us with body language. Teasing us with moves. Dropping in Shield-style triple attacks but never letting the camera linger on the masked figure for too long. Because the reveal, whenever it comes, has to matter. It has to be game-changing. For now, the hood stays on. And the fear stays alive. Whoever this person is, family, outsider, traitor, they're standing next to Roman Reigns, and they just helped dismantle Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and the new authority in under 3 minutes. They're not hype. They're a problem. And every second they go unnamed makes them more dangerous. To understand why Roman Reigns returned with fists instead of words, why he struck Seth Rollins with a spear that echoed louder than a decade of promos, you have to go back to where it all started. Long before the bloodline. Before the tribal chief. Before the headbands, the briefcases, the betrayals. Back to 2012. Back to when they were brothers in black. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins weren't just a tag team. They were part of a revolution. The Shield debuted at Survivor Series 2012, and they weren't introduced with fireworks or slow burns. They jumped the guardrail, attacked Ryback, and made it clear from night one, they were there to destroy the status quo. Alongside Dean Ambrose, the trio moved like assassins. Tactical. Calculated. Ruthless. They weren't about promos or theatrics. They were about impact. What made them dangerous wasn't just talent. It was unity. Reigns was the muscle. Ambrose was the chaos. Rollins was the architect. They functioned like a machine, each part essential, each move executed with precision. In their first 2 years, the Shield ran through the WWE roster. John Cena. The Rock. Daniel Bryan. The Undertaker. They left no one untouched. They were more than a faction, they were a force. And then came 2014. June 2nd, Raw. The night everything shattered. Triple H had just suffered a loss at the hands of the Shield. The Authority was vulnerable. Reigns, Ambrose, and Rollins stood tall, unified, unbreakable. And then Rollins picked up a chair. It wasn't hesitation. It wasn't confusion. It was cold execution. He slammed it across Roman Reigns' back with zero remorse. The echo of that steel was more than a betrayal, it was the end of innocence. The Shield, the greatest faction of that generation, was dead in one swing. Ambrose lay writhing. Reigns tried to turn, but the second chair shot dropped him. Rollins didn't say sorry. He said nothing. The next week, he joined Triple H's Authority and began climbing the corporate ladder. Reigns didn't respond with words either. He returned weeks later, no longer as a soldier, but as a solo weapon. Something inside him had cracked. Trust was gone. The team was dead. And so began their individual paths, each man chasing greatness in his own way. Rollins won the Money in the Bank briefcase and became the poster boy for betrayal. And at WrestleMania 31, he delivered what's still considered one of the greatest heists in wrestling history. Reigns was finally about to win the WWE Championship. He had survived Brock Lesnar's onslaught. He was bleeding, staggering, but about to seal his destiny. Then Rollins' music hit. He sprinted to the ring, briefcase in hand, and cashed in during the main event. One curb stomp later, Rollins pinned Reigns and walked away as WWE Champion. It was salt in the wound. Rollins had not only betrayed Reigns, he'd stolen his biggest moment. That wound never closed. The next few years were a dance of avoidance and confrontation. They clashed in triple threats, tag matches, championship bouts. Each time, the chemistry was electric, but the closure never came. Because for all their differences, Reigns and Rollins were tied by history. Brothers split by ambition. Reigns went on to become the guy. The main eventer. The company's face. But he was booed, rejected, ridiculed. He struggled to find his place, caught between what the fans wanted and what WWE needed him to be. Rollins, meanwhile, reinvented himself over and over. From the Authority's golden child to the beast slayer to the visionary. But every evolution carried the same undertone: he wanted to be the man Roman Reigns had been groomed to become. Then came 2020. The pandemic hit. WWE moved into empty arenas. The crowd disappeared, but Roman Reigns didn't. He returned at SummerSlam 2020 with new music, new teeth, and a new attitude. The Tribal Chief was born. He aligned with Paul Heyman. Took the Universal Championship. And for the next 3 years, he ruled WWE with an iron fist. The bloodline grew. The matches became cinematic. The promos turned mythic. He wasn't just winning, he was transforming. And Seth Rollins? He watched. He evolved again. Became a laughing, twitching, fashion-obsessed prophet with venom on his tongue. He didn't need the world to love him, he needed them to look at him. To see him. The first real crack in the wall came at the 2022 Royal Rumble. Rollins entered wearing old Shield gear, walking through the crowd with that same smug grin he wore in 2014. It wasn't just mind games, it was a message. You may be the Tribal Chief now, but I still live rent-free in your past. Reigns snapped. Beat Rollins with a steel chair. Refused to release the guillotine choke. Got himself disqualified. And even then, it wasn't closure. It was just more gasoline on a fire that had been burning for nearly a decade. The betrayal. The heist. The jealousy. The blood. It all led to WrestleMania 41. Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins. CM Punk. Triple threat. Reigns entered with his empire. Rollins entered with nothing but cunning. And when the match ended, it was Rollins who walked out with everything, and Reigns who lost it all. And just like in 2014, Rollins didn't flinch when he betrayed Roman again. He didn't hesitate when Heyman grabbed Reigns' leg. He didn't pause when he curb-stomped him into the canvas. Because that's who Seth Rollins is. The architect. The opportunist. The one who always hits first, then justifies it later. And that's why Roman came back the way he did. No words. No contract signing. No tribal ceremony. Just violence. Because he knew Rollins wouldn't stop until he was 6 feet under. And this time, Roman didn't just want revenge. He wanted war. This story isn't about titles anymore. It's about identity. Who made the Shield what it was? Who carried the company through its darkest years? Who deserves to lead? Roman Reigns believes Rollins took everything from him, twice. And Seth Rollins believes Roman was handed everything he had to earn. Now, there's no brotherhood left. Only battle lines.